Right, we're joined now live from Kolkata by South Africa and Essex spinner, I should say, Simon Harmer, after a absolutely heroic performance from him and from the whole South African team. An extraordinary result. The test match finishing at tea on the third day, but it never went more than 10 minutes without some drama. It was action packed. It was utterly absorbing. India, of course, bowled out for 93, chasing 124 in the fourth innings. And Simon Harmer taking the best figures by a South African spinner on Indian soil, 8 for 51, four in both innings. I'm breathless just recalling it, Simon. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, it's still pretty surreal. Even yesterday, just trying to process everything. I think the emotions of being behind the eight ball, having to fight back, the way that sort of Temba and Boshi batted yesterday morning to give us a sniff. And then you're just kind of hoping and kidding yourself into believing that, you know what, there is a chance here. And then for things to unfold and happen the way that they did, yeah, like it still feels not real. And to see all the support from back home, and I think a lot of people had written us off, people in the press. So yeah, to sort of show everybody that we are capable, and that we can win in these conditions.
Simon, I think that's the key. You're writing people off. Was that what galvanizes the group? You're written off World Test Championship final, go to India, and you win in that manner, inside 3 days. Just take us into the dressing room at the end of that game, because the run that you're on, you say you've been written off, but that must be one strong dressing room to overcome all these doubters and then go and beat India in their own back garden.
Yeah, I think the chat at the end of day two was a chip in a chair. If you got a chip in a chair at the table, you've got a chance. And I think sort of manifesting that, and then for it to come into reality the next day, to sit back down. I think there's a few boys in the change room that have been probably more often than not on the other side of that result, especially in India. So yeah, the boys were extremely excited and chuffed. And yeah, I think it's, the come down after the adrenaline rush of being in that situation. I mean, the noise when Axel was hitting those sixes in the stadium was deafening. So yeah, your beans are going and you're hoping things go your way, and then they do. And yeah, I think raw emotion, and then you come down and sit down and start to process everything that's gone on in the last sort of 3 days.
I feel obliged to point out, for those who don't know, the match situation at the end of day two is you're leading by 63 runs with 3 wickets left. You did the press conference at the end of the second day, and you said in that press conference, who knows, it's a funny game. If we can get a lead of 120 and bowl them out for 100, we win the game. To which there was mass euphoria, laughter. And you said, he who laughs loudest. So, I mean, I don't know whether that was tongue in cheek, but you painted the scenario. You did that on day two, and there was this mass laughter, and you kind of came back and said, "Well, yeah, it could happen."
Yeah, I think that was when I was like, okay, I think we've got a chance here, because it was a foregone conclusion by the sort of Indian media that were there that this game was done and dusted. And I think on that wicket, we just needed one partnership. And, the way that the day started, we sort of picked up a couple of boundaries, rotated the strike quite nicely. And then I was, like, Corbyn's an ex-SA schools hockey player. His hand-eye coordination is a joke. And I just think the way that Temba batted, his tempo, he had a very sort of solid and definite game plan of how he was going to go about his business. So there was definitely the belief, and then all of a sudden you're looking up at the scoreboard and you're 70 ahead, 80 ahead, and then you're thinking, jeepers, can we get to 100? Then we get to 100, and you know, and then it ebb and flows. I make a dumb decision to leave a reverse swinging ball, and you lose 2 wickets in an over, and you're back out in the field. And then you're sitting there thinking, we could have got to 150 there. And is that going to be the difference? And then you go out, and Marco gets those 2 wickets in the first couple of overs of his spell. And yeah, with Shubman not playing, they were effectively none for 3. So, you know, then all of a sudden you start to think, okay, if this ball is going to turn, and we got them 2 down already, we've got a real chance here. So there was still a lot of work that needed to be done, but yeah, luckily the boys, everybody chipped in. I mean, Aiden's wicket to get rid of Washington, you know, it's little things like that. Everybody was contributing in the field as well. So yeah, it's cliched, but it was a proper team effort.
Simon, there's a lot of talk about last year before the World Test Championship, the amount of Test match cricket that South Africa play. But is it a bit of a travesty that this is only a 2 Test match series? You know, one that I'm sure you'd be hoping that you can win 2-0, because, you know, 3 Test match series should be the norm now. And how important is it that South Africa do play more Test cricket, and in this next, obviously, Test match, you know? Are you intrigued to see what sort of surface the Indians play you on? Because with yourself and Maharaj, you fancy playing on a spinning one, and you've got certain Kagisa Rabada to come back. So if you fancy playing on a seaming one, we've got that covered as well.
Yeah, I think India's never played Test cricket at Guwahati, so I think they're unsure of exactly how it's going to go. I think they're going to feel that having the best Test bowler in the world and him not having an impact on day 3, they would want to get him more into the game. So is it going to be more seamer friendly? Yeah, you just don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. They obviously want to win the Test match, so they're going to make sure that the wicket suits whatever team they want to select. And yeah, I think it is frustrating because sort of your sample size within the World Test Championship is so much smaller than the rest. England going now into the Ashes, playing a 5 Test match series. Looking at the World Test Championship, I mean, there's already a couple of teams that have played close to 10 or more than 10 tests in the cycle already. It just means that your margin for error is so much smaller because it comes down to win percentage. It's not about, okay, we 1-0 ahead, so if we just need to draw this game and we win the series, happy days. It's about that win percentage, and you've got to be looking to win every test that you play if you want to be in the running for that final. So yeah, I think there's a sort of bigger picture at play within the ICC and the way that things are at the moment, but not really something I think I should be commenting on. But it is what it is. 2 Test match series. It's just the cards that have been dealt. We just need to make sure that when we are playing in these series that we're looking to compete and trying to win every match.
Been an amazing journey for you personally. I mean, I remember your first tour to India 10 years ago. It didn't go well. You were outbowled by Ravi Ashwin, which is no disgrace. But you went back to India on your own volition, didn't you? You went to learn how to for a couple of weeks, I think. And you know, you'd been bowling off spin for 10 years by then, and you sort of relearnt the craft. And to go back, it always makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, he's so accurate," and they don't seem to, you know, to the naked, untrained eye, your skill level isn't readily appreciated, and your speeds yesterday varied from like 77 k's to 94 k's. Your angles, your thinking, your planning for every batsman. Do you feel now that you are the complete off spinner? Is there such a thing?
I don't think so, because the way that cricket is, as soon as you feel like you're on top of something, something changes. So I think you've always got to be looking to evolve. But yeah, I think the turning point in my career was that trip to Mumbai in 2016 to go and work with Umesh Patwal. And basically everything that I thought I knew about spin bowling, he laughed at. And it was like, the most frustrating 2 weeks of my life, because the way that I gripped the ball, the things that I thought were important, like biomechanically in my action, like down to like everything, it was just like thrown out the window, and like, this is what you need to learn. And I think the evolution from there and playing in England and being a finger spinner and not being able to bowl a googly or a doosra, it is those subtle changes and forcing players to play in a certain way. So for Kolkata, for instance, like, I needed to find a way to get batters to commit on the front foot. So my stock pace is probably closer to 80 Ks than it is to 90 Ks. But I felt on that wicket, bowling that one, the Indian players and most subcontinent players look to use their feet, and they're not scared to use their feet. I think if you look in the Pakistan series, even with the ball turning away, they were happy to run down. The lefties, to me, were happy to run down and get to the pitch of the ball. So you've got to find a way to keep them in their crease, which the quicker pace does, and then look to deceive them in the air with the slower one. So it's a constant learning process, different grips on different days. And it's like finding that information as quickly as you possibly can, and then starting to play with angles as you get into your spell. So it is the little, as an off spinner, it's the little subtle changes that make a big difference. And yeah, like it's an art, and like, I love the challenge. I love getting into competition with a batter, trying to figure them out. And there's no better place to do it than in the subcontinent. And the sort of peak of that is here in India, because they are some of the best players of spin in the world.
You mentioned about England playing the Ashes. You know, you've been in England for a hell of a long time with Essex. England potentially could go in, and I say this a bit tongue in cheek. England potentially could go into the Ashes series with Shoaib Bashir and Will Jacks as their two spin bowlers. Not, you know, they're not Harmer and Maharaj. Is there a problem in English cricket and how we identify England spinners? Is it as simple as we play, you know, championship matches at bookends of the year, when at the first part of the year the spinners can't feel their fingers? Is it as simple as that, or do we not look in England to identify, to educate, and to look at the art of spin bowling, possibly the way you did when you went to Mumbai?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the most frustrating thing for me is you look around the county setups. The only spin bowling coach in England is Jeetan Patel, who's with the national team. So until you get into that fold or into that setup, you don't have a dedicated spin coach. And going and seeing young spin bowlers, and no disrespect, working with fast bowling coaches. Now, I'm sure there's some sort of translation from the biomechanics of spin bowling into fast bowling, but I wouldn't be able to have an impact on a fast bowler as a spinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the resources that county cricket has in the ECB, there's got to be a way to get a couple of spin bowling coaches to go around and to identify young talent, to get that talent together. And if it means coming to India to work with someone or whatever it is, but trying to upskill those. And I think it's probably been the Achilles heel of the English Test team, is that they haven't had a Nathan Lyon that they know they can rely on. They've chopped and changed Dom Bess, Jack Leach, Shoaib Bashir now, Liam Dawson for a test, and then he's out again. So yeah, I think with the state of the Australian fast bowling stocks at the moment, they're going to look to rely more heavily on Lyon. So I think you might see that Perth wicket turn more than normal. And with Mitchell Starc, you've got footmarks to bowl into. And it could come down to a Bashir versus Lyon scenario, especially days 4 and 5, the amount of bounce that you get. And if it's turning as well out of the footmarks. And look, Shoaib Bashir hasn't done badly, but I think Australia is going to be the litmus test for him, because they're going to want the seamers to come back, and they're going to do that by putting Bashir under pressure. And And for a young spinner, he's got great control. But obviously the Ashes is a big occasion, and it's dealing with that pressure and dealing with the expectation on day 4 or day 5 of being the guy to bowl a team out to win the test match for your country. So it's going to be a big test for him. And I think if he comes out the other side, he will be the only spinner that England look at for the foreseeable future. And if not, I mean, there's not a lot of spinners that are ready to step up into that role from the county system as it currently stands.
So it's incredibly kind of you to give us your time after that. I'm just, let's go back to Eden Gardens finally, because we'll let you go now. But that atmosphere in the change room afterwards must have been, if you could bottle it, you'd sell it for £1 million. You know, it'd be the most expensive perfume in the world. How did you celebrate? And you've got a couple of days off now. Are you in a nice hotel? Good pool?
Yeah, we're in a very nice hotel. So probably some golf tomorrow. And then I think, yeah, we had a couple of beers last night. I think it's important in my eyes to celebrate
Definitely.
your wins, especially here in India. You don't know when they're going to come around again. And yeah, the sort of senior group here appreciates winning test match cricket. It's still a very important part of South African cricket culture. So yeah, a couple of beers, probably quite relaxed today. Maybe sweat it out in the gym, and then yeah, a bit of golf tomorrow, and then we travel on Wednesday to Guwahati. It's a quite quick turnaround, so nice to have a couple of extra days off. But yeah, I mean, I love India, great people. I'm not as recognizable as some of the IPL superstars. So it's a lot easier to move around and experience the culture here. So yeah, looking forward to a couple of days in Kolkata, and then yeah, back to the drawing board. We need to make sure, because the Indians are going to have some fire in their belly and want to turn around the result of the first test.